All right, well, if you're new, welcome to Blake's Takes. I am Blake. Going on another Marvel task here. I'm sorry, I know I'm gonna do some different things other than Marvel. It's just, who doesn't love to talk about Marvel? Just to let y'all know, I am doing an MCU rewatch, but today I'm gonna do my rankings of the Phase 1 movies. So let's dive right into this list. Coming in last place at number 6 is The Incredible Hulk, which came out in 2008, just right after the first Iron Man. And this is definitely the most forgettable movie of the MCU. A lot probably due to the part because there was a change in actors. And in 2012, they made a change to Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, and he's been the Hulk ever since. And we really forget about Edward Norton being the Hulk because I think we all pretty much really enjoy Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk. It wasn't a terrible movie. I mean, I thought it had good fight scenes, entertaining fighting scenes. Tim Roth is a great actor, and plays the Abomination. We obviously know Edward Norton is a good actor, probably most famously known for Fight Club, but really just, kind of a forgettable movie in the MCU. You don't really care about the relationship between Bruce Banner and Betty. Yeah, also, it seems like to me in this Hulk is probably the weakest version of the Hulk as well. In the 2012 Avengers, we see the Hulk, stop a Chitauri Leviathan, like those big giant space worms. He stops it with one arm. And then in the 2003 version of Hulk, terrible. That's a terrible movie. But he's pretty strong in that as well, as we see him leap from basically like state to state, taking these mile-long leaps. I don't know, it just seems like it was the weakest version of the Hulk that we got. He didn't really have any, huge jumps from building to building. He was kind of like, had to like claw his way up there, and they weren't even skyscrapers. Whenever he threw, pieces of a car or whatnot, and kicked stuff, it just wasn't as strong as we are used to seeing from other versions of the Hulk. Definitely the most forgettable movie in the MCU, in my opinion. Coming in at number 5, we have the first Thor. So for this film, it actually wasn't as bad as I remembered. I thought, we actually got to see some good character moments, mainly from Loki and Odin. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, I love Chris Hemsworth as Thor now. He's really progressed, and his character has changed a lot throughout the MCU, as we know. But in this first movie, he's still getting a grip on the character. They're pretty strict with how they want his character. He's not nearly as funny as he is now. And we also get this relationship that feels kind of forced between Thor and Jane Foster, who's played by Natalie Portman. They have like these flirtatious moments, but nothing to garnish like a giant kiss at the end and have this like kind of love story that's kind of just all slammed at you at the end of the film. The final fight scene, I thought, was one of the weaker ones of the MCU as well. Lasts pretty shortly too. I mean, there's absolutely no action in the middle act of the film. It is pretty boring, to be honest. It takes place in one of the most, I don't want to say maybe boring places in the United States. I mean, just a southwest region that is just nothing but desert. I guess the main positive thing about this is we see a turn in Thor's character. He had a nice little character arc as, he's mainly just a warrior, a brutal warrior who is always acting on fighting first. He doesn't want to think things out. He's kind of a meathead. And then it turns into him at the end knowing that he needs to put other people before him and not be so selfish. And the ending, it's kind of corny how he becomes worthy again, and just how, I'm gonna fight this thing off, just me, no powers, in order to save these people. Yeah, it's a sacrifice, but obviously it's expected. I mean, it's pretty corny too. And also, I don't know what the deal is, but there were so many damn Dutch angle shots in this movie. The director, Kenneth Branagh, apparently that's his style. But my God, that there did not need to be that many Dutch angles. I mean, a Dutch angle is supposed to signify chaos is about to occur or in the future. But I mean, damn, for as much Dutch angles as there was nearly not as much chaos in this movie. They needed to tone down on that. I thought it was kind of distracting at some points. But hey, you know, you live and you learn. And I haven't seen the Dutch angle again in the Thor movie, so I guess they learned. Coming in at number 4, we have Iron Man 2. I know a lot of people don't like this film, but I actually enjoyed this film. I just enjoy watching Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. He is Iron Man. It's the most perfect role that has ever came into his lap. But yeah, this came out in 2010 after The Incredible Hulk. Once again, directed by Jon Favreau. I would say the most disappointing thing about this film would be the villain in Whiplash. I thought he had a really good backstory to work with, but they don't really take advantage of that. You know, they have Justin Hammer intervene with his story and everything. The final battle, you know, was really short. I mean, the main final battle was just really, you know, War Machine and Iron Man facing off against these drones that Ivan Whiplash put together. The fight lasts like 30 seconds. I mean, come on. I thought the way the fight ended was cool with how Iron Man and War Machine kind of used the same way they fought each other earlier in the film. What I did enjoy about the movie was the relationship growth between Iron Man, between Tony and Pepper Potts, just how chaotic their relationship always is. Jon Favreau, who is Happy. I always love seeing Happy in the film. The great thing about Iron Man 2, though, is that we are introduced to Black Widow, who becomes a huge part of the MCU. Natasha Romanoff, we get to see her skills put to the test. We see more of Nick Fury and dive deeper into his character. Another thing that I really liked about the film was the part where Tony has to create a new element for his arc reactor to be compatible with so that he can keep living, because the chemicals inside of his arc reactor, what he's living off, is actually killing him. I thought it was a fun act to have Tony almost like a detective mode and find these clues to put the pieces together to find out how to create this brand new element that his father kind of lays out the path for him. And we get to see more of the relationship that Tony has or had with his father, as we saw like an old video of Howard, you know, talking about Tony and how his greatest invention was him, and that basically the world is going to rely on him one day, which years down the road in Endgame it does. So it was really nice to see those different relationships in the film as well. If anything, I thought this film was more about building those relationships and characters. This one probably isn't a popular opinion, but at number 3, I have Avengers. Now, don't get me wrong. They were able to pull something off that had never been done before. You know, bringing all these different superheroes and movies together, and it's a good movie. It's very enjoyable, but I do think that some of the actors are still trying to find their footing on these characters. There is a good amount of corny lines in it. You know, with this film, and as big as it was going to be, it was the first time that they did it, so they had to make sure that they were targeting everybody for the audience. You know, you wanted to bring everybody into this whole new world that they're trying to create. Like I said, you know, Robert Downey Jr., he obviously, first time he put on that Iron Man suit, he was born to play it. But you have other characters like Thor, who are still coming into their own. Another thing is they absolutely butchered Captain America's suit in this film. I hated it. And I know you're probably thinking, oh, what, you're going to let a suit affect your opinion on the movie? Hell yeah, I am. Because this suit was so damn corny. I mean, the suit that he had in 1944 was 10 times better than this suit. This suit was so damn corny. I think his helmet was just like a hood that he would slip on and off. I don't know. I did not like it whatsoever. Make some funny remarks about it in Avengers Endgame that was much needed. The final battle was great in this movie. Definitely the most action we had seen at that point in any Marvel film. More great stuff from Loki, and as we learn more about the Tesseract and the Mind Stone, and obviously we have a great end credit scene with Thanos. So that's when we learned that he is going to be in the foreseeable future and have some sort of impact in the MCU later down the road. It's a tall glass to fill to have to put all these characters together and make it work. And they did make it work. They really did. But I just think the two films that I have ahead of this were just all around, better films. We do get a good soundtrack in this film, a good score as we hear the Avengers theme for the first time, and that theme still gives me chills to this day, as I'm sure it does to a lot of people. But I just think the films that I do have ahead of this are just all around better films, in my opinion. So coming in at number 2, we have Captain America: The First Avenger, which came out in 2011, I believe right after Thor. This was all around a very enjoyable film. I thought this was one of the better origin stories of the MCU. They explained it great. They didn't spend too much time on anything in the origin story. It was all laid out. We see the relationship that he has with Bucky, which that relationship becomes a huge part down the road in the MCU. A lot of, even the villain with Hydra, I mean, Red Skull is the villain, but Hydra itself, which is the villain in this film as well, that becomes a major aspect in the MCU, as Hydra plays a huge part in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and even a part in Captain America: Civil War. Hydra is always there. I love learning about that World War II stuff, and to kind of have like its own twist on World War II, I thought was interesting. Obviously Captain America is a great character. He has a great story. We all adore Captain America, don't we? I wasn't a huge fan of Captain America until honestly until Infinity War, because he's always such a goody two-shoe, and I mean he is in this film, but Captain America, he starts to grow on you for sure. And Chris Evans' portrayal as Steve Rogers, Captain America, is great. Totally different from the character that he plays in the Fantastic Four as Johnny Blaze years ago. Totally different characters. It's a complete 180 with that. Good music as well. Captain America did have a good score. I really do enjoy Captain America's theme. It was really fun to see a young Howard Stark and his involvement in the creation of the super serum that was put into Captain America, and the creation of the shield. And that's when we first learned about vibranium, and that metal, the strongest metal in the world. Once again, a great origin story and a great movie to set up future events for the MCU. So yeah, that leaves one spot left, and that spot is taken by the first Iron Man that came out in 2008. The whole thing that kickstarted the MCU, Kevin Feige, Jon Favreau directing it. They just really put this shit together, and my God, thank you that they did. Thank you. I love Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane as well. I thought he was a good villain. Really see just a huge turn with that character, and you could say that casting choice was skeptical as well, mainly due because you saw Jeff Bridges mainly in comedies. The one downside that I could say to this film is that the score in this is very repetitive. That's something me and my friends noticed when we were watching it. Every time we just see Iron Man, it's the same damn song. It fits the Iron Man theme very well. I love that for Iron Man's theme. We just hear it so damn much in the movie. But other than that, what a great way to start this whole MCU. All of these characters did such a great acting job in it. This was also during a time where a lot of the superhero attention was over on the Christopher Nolan's Batmans as well. You had Batman Begins come out in 2005, which at the time didn't get too much attention, but once people realized that it was really good, they started paying more attention to it. And then in 2008 is when The Dark Knight came out, arguably one of the greatest superhero movies, one of the greatest movies, period, to ever come out. So it was released in this time where, you know, more of the attention was on DC and Christopher Nolan's Batmans and the performance of Heath Ledger as Joker. So to do this in that time period, well, you could say was a risky move as well. And thankfully, everything worked for the best. So yeah, there it is. Those are my MCU Phase 1 rankings. Let me know if you agree with my list. Let me know what your list would be. And if you did enjoy the content in this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe as well. And I'll see you next time on Blake's Takes.